Welcome to Letters to My Therapist. I am Maria Antonia Alfonso.
And I'm Hilsa Fort Martinez, and we are talking today about how to identify a gaslighter. Okay, this is a term, Mari, that we hear all the time now. So let's see what our letter says today. Dear therapist, in a previous relationship, I was dating someone who would gaslight me and not listen to my comments on how I felt about a relationship issue or situation. I was always defending myself on how I felt, but wanted to make my partner happy. How can I identify a gaslighter in the future? And what are some tools to put into practice if I cross paths with someone who does this to me again? Wow. Right? This is a term that we hear a lot of, this gaslighting. It's not a it's not a new concept, right? We've heard it in couples and in relationships, but they're using this particular term of gaslighting.
Yes, and for people that don't know what that means, I think that will be important that we give a little bit of a definition. It's a term that the psychology has adopted. The term comes from a movie. That was the name of a movie in the 1940s, where the person, there was those times that the lights, like the lamps, were like gas lights, and then the character in the movie, this was a man that he wanted to convince his wife that she was losing her mind because he had some intentions. He was trying to manipulate the situation. He was trying to make her feel that she wasn't totally healthy in her mind because he had some interest. So you can go ahead and watch the movie, but this is the concept behind that. So he was manipulating the lamps, and he was dimming the light a little bit. So when she will say, it's a little bit dark here, he will right away change the light, and he will say, it's totally bright. I don't know what you mean. It's not dark. And then she will look at the situation, and then he will go ahead and change it again. So she was confused. She started doubting herself. So the psychology has adopted this terminology that describes so well what happens sometimes in relationships. And
Right.
we want to say it's a manipulative strategy.
Right.
The person that used that want to make sure that you feel confused,
Right.
want to make sure that you doubt yourself.
The essence of gaslighting is to create confusion, is to create the idea that the reality that you see is not what's really happening, or vice versa. So it's a great movie. We encourage you to see it, but it's an oldie. It's a 1940s movie. You're gonna have to look that up. But the idea of gaslighting happens in relationships when you are trying to sort out, express, give an idea, and you're told you're wrong, you're crazy, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody thinks that way. Those are could be some examples of what people say to you when they are kind of trying to shift around the reality of a situation.
Yeah, so some of the ways that people describe this when this happened, they say, my partner described what happened to me in a way that as if I wasn't there. And I know I was there.
Right.
I know this is what happened, and they're telling you a totally different story. So if you feel like you feel in this type of situation, take a look. You may be being gaslighted. So definitely. So this person is asking us, like, how can I identify? And I will say this is the first thing that will be important. If you feel confused,
Right.
if you see that they are telling you a story that is totally different, that they're telling you things like, oh, I never said that,
Right.
like, oh, that wasn't what happened.
Right.
Oh, I never went there. This type of things that that really happened. So yeah,
That's your first clue. And that's your big clue, to really pay attention to what it is that not only right? Because this is how a particular situation happened, but also to listen to your gut. If something doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, doesn't sound right, it's usually not right. at least
Yes.
not right for you. So that's the first identifying thing. When you are in a relationship with someone and they question your thoughts, and particularly they question your feelings, you don't feel like that. You can't feel like that. Oh my God, nobody feels like that. When they question your thoughts or your feelings, that's your number one identifier that this is something that we got to pay attention to, right? You
Yes.
and I talk about all the time the red flags, the yellow flags in relationships. This kind of a pattern,
It's a red
I,
flag.
I, I like, well, I like to start with the yellow flag.
Okay.
Well,
You're so conservative.
well, I'm not conservative, but I try to give the benefit of the doubt in that make sure that they understand that I have some space to be able to explain or express my ideas. The line to go into a red flag for me is when it becomes a pattern.
Yes.
When 8 out of 10 things that I say, I'm questioned, I'm diminished, I'm dismissed, those kinds of
Hmm.
things. When it becomes more of a
Frequency
pattern,
important.
yes, and
Hmm.
frequency, then really it goes into a red flag. So she asks us, what's the identifier? The first one is how you feel. If you
Hmm.
feel like you're confused and you're feeling a little crazy, probably there's something happening here that's more relationship
Yeah,
dynamic.
and one thing also that is very characteristic is that this person usually involve other people
Mm.
and kind of like use other people
Mm-hmm.
against you.
Mm.
So in a way, like you see, this person said this.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you see, they think totally different. You are
Mm-hmm.
the one in the wrong.
Right.
Kind of like, and even involving other people, like
Mm-hmm.
using them as witness somehow to kind of like justify whatever they are
Their
trying to say,
perspective,
the
right.
perspective. So yeah, and also like usually the gaslighter change the mood like very easily, and then all of a sudden you are in this confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Like okay, they were happy, they were excited, and now they're really mad, and then they say that it's you.
Right.
You did
The
something that
shifting of the blame,
exactly.
that's an important one.
Yes.
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 That's an important one. When they shift the blame, and certainly if they shift the blame to you
Mhm.
most of the time, then you're really, that not only adds to the confusion, but potentially the conflict. Right
Mhm.
now, our writer talks to us about how she didn't feel listened to, and always feeling like she had to defend herself, meaning probably her positions.
Mhm.
So we would invite you to think about if your positions, if you strongly felt that your positions were the correct one, meaning whatever was happening in the situation, how to ask yourself how much of this confusion is an outright lie,
Mhm.
not just a difference of opinion between you and your partner, but rather an outright lie. Somebody is saying you did or said something that you didn't do,
Mhm.
that you didn't say. So an outright lie, because the again the frequency and the intensity is what I think really defines a gaslighter, because they will tend to emphasize a little bit, almost like a woodpecker, right? To really just keep going at it. This is you, this is your problem, nobody else gets it, you're the one. And it's that intensity that I think separates from a what might be a regular difference of opinion or even an argument to somebody who's really trying to wrap the manipulative, scarf around you.
Yeah, and we always encourage people to say what they feel, to say what they think in relationship. But in a situation like this, she was saying my comments were totally dismissed. My comments were invalidated.
Mm-hmm.
That is another indicator
Mm-hmm.
that when you express in your relationship what you want, what you need, and then this person you know, doesn't pay attention to that and is even questioning, is even telling you, oh no, 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 no. You don't feel that. So that is a big red flag, definitely. She said also something about that she wanted to make the partner
My partner
happy.
happy.
So
Mm-hmm.
that level of responsibility, like we know that we cannot make anybody happy.
Well,
So that
but
dynamic.
that dynamic is a piece of what gets us sometimes stuck in these patterns, right? Because I think it's natural that in a relationship you want to be able to make your partner happy,
Mhm.
right? You want to be able to do things that your partner is going to feel your love, your devotion, your interaction. There, the line that's crossed there, right, is when you feel
Mm.
responsible, right,
Good.
for their happiness. When your behaviors are all around, what you say, what you do, even what you feel is all around making sure that they're happy. And that's a piece of what we sometimes call, right, the eggshell walking that happens in relationships, right?
Yes.
And we're not really sure what we're going to say, how we're going to say it, not sure how it's going to be received. So we're kind of walking on eggshells very delicately around someone. And that to me is also a big piece. If you're
Mhm.
feeling like you got to restrain how you say something, really think about how you interact with your partner. I think that's another identifier. You
Mm.
know, they can't be 100%, right? Because, somebody might be just having a bad day or
Mhm.
something. This is about intensity, frequency,
Pattern.
duration, pattern,
Yes,
right?
definitely. So I think in terms of, well, the isolation is also something that happened because that person doesn't want you to be able to uh,
Confirm and verify.
confirm and verify.
Yes.
So that's
So that's
also.
also a potential that could happen. If you
Mhm.
find yourself being more isolated, either your partner is saying to you, we're not going to do that. I don't really want to go there. Uh, you're going to go by yourself. You're not going to, you're going to leave me. If you have, again, frequency of this kind of things, these are questions for you to say, because the tendency is for them to either isolate you so that you can't verify, right? Or you isolate yourself. Oh
Mhm.
my God, this person he's a little bit drastic, or she's a little bit drastic, so I don't want to have her or him go in here and create, right? So we can isolate ourselves, or they will isolate us. So that's a
Yes.
big one.
And when you find yourself kind of like lying to the people that are close to you,
Mm-hmm.
that's another indicator. Like you notice that you are in a relationship, you notice
Mm-hmm.
that you are in a situation that is not necessarily positive,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start covering up to your
Yeah.
friends and you don't tell them what's going on, or you don't even tell them that you still seeing that person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's because really you're not proud of the situation. So pay attention to that, because sometimes if we are not proud, it's because we feel that the people close to us are gonna be worried, are gonna be
Mm-hmm.
concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another indicator that maybe the.
I think that's a I think that's a good one, and we will ignore that one sometimes,
Mhm.
right? Because we'll say that our friends either worry too much, or they're too critical, or they never like anybody that I see or I go out with. So we rationalize
Mhm.
a lot of that, and again, that's a piece of the manipulation that happens and then spreads into what we do for to ourselves, right?
Yeah, and one thing is that sometimes you feel very often doubting yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you feel critical of yourself and you feel like, oh my God, I'm messing up this
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And you find yourself kind of like assuming that you're guilty
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like questioning, and these type of ideas come to your mind. I'm really that bad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm messing up this person. I'm,
Right.
I'm hurting this person, when you know that you haven't been that kind of person in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start kind of like creating this identity and,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like doubting yourself, just pay attention, because that could be behind all of that. That could be somebody trying to make you doubt yourself
To doubt
because they
yourself.
have an intention.
So when she's asking for tools, that's the important tool. Stop and kind of pause and reflect on what's happening. Pay attention to what you are thinking or saying. Pay
Mhm.
attention to the responses or reactions that you're getting to your partner. Um, I always think it's important to express yourself, so you can bring this to your partner and be able to say, I'm trying to express this, or I'm doing this, or I'd like to. So the it is important to have the exchange Okay. And to try to see if you get resistance and continued resistance,
Mm.
then the consideration and the reflection may need to turn towards whether this is the right relationship for you, whether this is a relationship to continue, or whether this is where the relationship may need to end.
Yes, exactly. If you are assertive and you express your needs and you express what you are experiencing and whatever you see the discrepancy, and then this person again invalidate you
Mhm.
and again question and
Mhm.
not even pay attention to what is happening to you,
Mhm.
there is a confirmation. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to leave.
And
And
sometimes you have to leave. And that could be a whole other episode, right,
yes.
Maddie? Because leaving a relationship, and leaving a relationship that we are highly invested in, is a whole other conversation, and is definitely not easy to
Mhm.
do. But our writer here wanted to know how to identify and how to be able to use some tools to be able to not even enter that kind of relationship. So
Yes.
we hope that some of these recommendations resonate for you, and we hope that you will join us next time on our next episode.